potatoes.
To Hatsaranov?
I came to potatoes.
Why, potato?
Maybe, what, potatoes?
I will tell you now why potatoes. Let's go.
Why, potatoes. So I have been working for approximately 39 years. Going anywhere. The office there somehow may be changed. Apparently they will make it better. And what is KSP? Primorier? KSP is... No, you say first sovkhoz primori, then KSP primori. Well, in view of all these transformations here, and then came the 90s of music. It became clear that living in this format became difficult. A main investor appeared, who took over several state farms. Ours was the first. First of all, we spent years there, they determined, and started producing for KFH Cirulev. In general, of course, it's not worth it. I'm not a person. I didn't imagine what it was. Zach, Mom? Reading. Our area was brought to someone from the authorities in the country. And they didn't pay attention to our regions. That is, the price. She expected more. She was a bit disappointed, but avoided it. And so on. That is, a lot of things slowed down. The next thing was to develop significantly. I was just in the 53rd large-scale generation. Personally, saw the last minister of generation. The Ministry of Generation was in Chinovsky, yes. Could have, wasn't not relevant, and our localities. Well, smoothly, right? Well, in general, all the uniqueness, here it is, for example, the head. 4. Our prices. So this is the matter. Build. Falcons cushions or something. Falcons. Sonny, this is high-tech enterprise, meaning it's dairymen, it's a pigsty. It's pigsties at the most modern, that is a popular that only Samara treasures their own, meaning a railway access, that is a wagon for construction. To Sinshu Black City built. The first phase saves the paint. Systems, that is lands just like a table for Gansk. And the very who means further. This is the second phase. It just was brought up to the 80s, and somewhere at the end of the 80s. In principle, the second phase was introduced in Turk. Well, also, all of us, like this, so even. The global situation and so on. You see what happened in the 90s, right? And here is the second planetary dynamo, where this year, in particular, it arrived at Weser. So, a bird with the Shask factory at the end, so to speak, with new visions and so on. That is, in a short time it reached. Now it belongs a little to the arrival. 150 grams per day for each bird. So, these are serious. Things like that. But at the same time, we are in the country of Bunila. And Methenberg was there, intended to allow such things. For 2 months, that is, they threw in white meat, red meat on the floor, prices on the floor. It was very difficult, it was very state-like. In our childhood, it was done a lot. Yes, and there was a crusher, and so on. On top, the wine just spilled over. which means we were rotating wheat at the school in general. With a nose, we entered with a nose. Kisses arrived just in case. I will say there were no such things in the 90s. There were no 40-90s. So, further, salt. The figure asked to close the cycle so as not to transport from the Far East. Boris Mikhailovich brought me to the municipality once. It will work out. So to eat. Sowed, received. Well, of course, I'm somewhere around 17, 18 years old. Why study? In 30 years, it turns out. But by that time, of course, all other traces did not show. But circumstances stopped it. The little one is still with the doctors. We are growing a layer. And so, already in 2000, Boris Mikhailovich was there and he says, let's Kandalaksha in my village. The two of us come on in my village, including let's engage in Kandalaksha. That's where it started. This topic is Kavdor. So yes, in 2003 we already... Where did we start working? The lands, all of them, I say again, nothing will fall from here. But worked in various enterprises. So what do we have? Well, first of all, we revived irrigation to its original treatment. That is, everything that was poisoned during those turbulent times and more, we restored everything. We started working with the soil. The soil has always been interested in the soil. That is, to get returns so that in the MIC areas, like the strong absence there and so on. For this, of course, an institute had to be involved and some active workers who are developing in this field were invited to work. This was already the year 2016. And so we worked very hard. Yesterday, since 2016, we loaded literature, brought in more people with scientific methods. And accordingly, we understand that potatoes are a very complex thing, responsive both positively and negatively, if you don't engage in the necessary Russian work. So, therefore, at first, of course, then we realized and we came to understand that, listen carefully, initially there was also a lot of material, receptive, and decided to establish a more comprehensive approach. Rotation on a virus-free basis. Free flowers, primarily domestic varieties. And what we have been doing all our lives. Yes, we have developed some of our own methods. Then, in 2014, when it passed, it was clear what would happen there. Regarding domestic enthusiasts. You were talking about domestic enthusiasts. I know you were with them in 2004. An increased feeling, I think, is there a change in the plan for processing gardens in your companies? Do you feel it? Now, among the enthusiasts, we, of course, as you might expect, including in just a single day. With Volodya, we traveled half the world, but everything depends on the society where you live. But when we got to Amir, immediately Well, did we draw like everyone else? Like everyone else? I am a translator, we had one. I answered him, Dima speak students, we neighbors. That we ended up in such nature, well, not Volodya, son. So, and I looked, that is, a monopoly, they said, so they have, like us, a lot. Well, Masha, that's what I said. Of course, these thoughts about nutrition exist among the youth, but there are probably drivers of this direction, but not to that extent. There they, well, again, I don't know. Or like everyone, again, so everything, well, that's what I remembered. In principle, this is the meaning, I think, at some point. Yes. Here's one material we have, usually on the potato network. That's what we are engaged in. Yes, maybe it will come, but we have different traditions than they do, it seems. Yes, their people value the time and so on, but they have a powerful state behind them, which, well, we might have something different. That is, the territory is large. But there are, of course, difficult cities, but we still need to look further. And in our case, here, and there he is, standing in the shadows. A few days later, magnets appeared, special projects appeared, which we are implementing. This was in 2018. We signed the first special contract, and they are our main consumers. Of course, you can develop yourself however you like. Now, look at what we have. Here. 1, 4. There's a ribbon. It's burned. Very well burned. But what can be said here? The soul washed. Stood up a little. And we work closely with them alongside the man. We have a TV program, and every day under the belt. We have about 20 of these pounds. We pay from Penza to Orenburg, from Tatarin to half a year. Let's say an agro contract. Well, here's Leninburg. Look, what is this? Why Tatarin? There was a pre-production crisis last year. It caused a crisis under production. It caused mostly and at the extreme. So, the question, I think, and completely to us and everything else independently, at that time, at this time, a whisper touches. A crisis doesn't always occur. That's one of the main things. Yes, there are restrictions, that is, copyrights. You can't engage if you don't have a license, hence the freedom then. And with our own, here, we are with him. Now I think maybe it's the right time for you to understand I'll move. Finish drinking tea, then I'll move on to appetites, so further. What else would I like to say about this? Well, as with vegetables, you won't be full. Any farmer understands that he needs to be in profit every year, probably. And so I also want to say, yes, probably. We worked well with crop rotation. We have, in the field of approximately equivalent crop rotations. One of them is seed-based, meaning there are seeds, sort of. 6 field. Doesn't return for a long time, though. There is soil where to sell so that the seeds are healthy and decent. What do we include there? We applied such a culture as salt. Yes, they coexist quite well. You could say it's dense, and supposedly there are no pathogens. It's fine. In short, it works out. Therefore, it means if there is such interest, you can return, including to us. We engaged in seed production, not only of potatoes, but primarily of split wheat and layer, which is being extended.
We are doing hybridization. We have hybrids.
I wouldn't.
Our glory cardboard, except the guys shine. It turned out to be an interesting interview. But you was present at it. So it's very interesting to observe, really, to communicate with people when you see that the next generations are starting to pick up, and it's already a lot of activity.
Exactly so, and yes, that our experience in principle needs to be known, but let's say it won't be useful anymore.
I always ask the question, I see that the continuity of generations, which trait of character, I am not familiar with your children, but in any case, the question is, which trait of your children's character is not inherent to you, but you wish it were?
Well, what can I say? Of course, they study global experience more thoroughly than we did in our time. They, strangely enough, didn't travel anywhere now, and they believe us when we show them something there. So, what else? Well, this, I would say, confidence in yourself. We are less confident, but we had no choice. We had to do something, whether now or here. You can sell, buy, and produce something like that. Here, of course, it's more possible. So I've already gotten a bid up. We know where everything is located. That is, annually, about 1.5 to 2,000 hectares are subjected to research, and all this is accompanied by some protocols. And therefore, it is marked on the map. Its position of certain plots, how much phosphorus. I think, therefore, the resolution is somewhere from 4 to 5 hectares. That is, from such a plot which is usually taken samples that are stored. I have already. And we stand. Thank you. Please explain. We came in. I'm trying in broken language. What it means we have soil analysis.
Well, we do the soil directly in each field. We inspect annually. And we compile a cardio.
This is still every year, but...
Every year, everything is equipped in vegetable fields.
In the fallow field.
We already have a history, meaning our history starts from 2018, 2016, 2019. And from year to year, of course, we are now selecting a program. Initially, we had the simplest programs. Now they are already...
Look, what is this? What do we have?
This is phosphorus.
Here is phosphorus and potassium. Yes. Look, there are 5s. Here there are 2s. Well, what is this ratio? Beech harvest in the morning. There should be a little beech. That's why.
That's why we always need to diversify phosphorus on the scale. There shouldn't be more grouping than potassium accordingly. There is a balance here, meaning after we look at the history archive, we can bond this.
We initially created the laboratory to understand where we are stuck, why we invested money in the ticketing, missing, shooting milk at the target of serving Mac. Here we, of course, or we tried alternative opinions, but ours turned out to be more correct.
Guys from Semirianevka came to us and talked about the need to look at the plot's overall fertility. That is, how much if they are not fertile, then accordingly nothing will grow there. But all. Their activities are based on the fact that there is sodium content, and why add it there if it won't be absorbed anyway? But regarding heavy salts, yes, that is toxic salts, everything is normal. We have a deficit, and in some places a surplus. It's clear where it flows. So it turned out to be a bit unscientific for us. In the areas where we provided plots where theoretically fertility is reduced because there are perennial layers, They studied grain groups and everything else. Those plots yielded more for us. Why? Because we also have a small amount of carbonates. We have sulfur fertilizer, which acts as a conductor. And there it is more easily absorbed. This applies in all these respects.
It's a multifaceted thing. And what else we will focus on, I don't know, but...
No such thing. Like that.
But the yield is increasing. And then that's the main thing. Yes.
Well, shall we continue? I have a long waist, but probably already introduced myself. Our laboratory, where I always explained, consists of 3 blocks. That is the research block, and then through the partitions, there is the production area. We are not producing there right now. The biopreparation and the plenary micropropagation area. So everything is streamlined, sterilized, washed, disinfection done, clean dishes, and here. We have already moved to the clean plenary, and then production of biopreparations and funk PCR. This is where it starts for us, why the precision of dirt. Here we disinfected, nothing at all, washed a lot, and here we came and cleaned everything completely, made it clean. And then it is applied to the clean head. Here's the pre-box box. And it turns out we cultivate, maintain the culture, constantly monitor antagonistic activity. That is, these are already mature cultures from our collection. We take our phytopathogens, observe, find our antagonists, and see which of them needs to be grown further, expanded. Then we expand the smaller ones. And all this brings information and is expanded in large volumes, and Dad, we always ask Usuros. For example, if need. There will be a mushroom if we need a child in another visible Bavkare where reduce, such as, for instance, this is 3.
This is according to Mark Lvovich.
This situation is completely and absolutely without any issues or concerns, also without problems. It's absolutely impossible to eat, and when we...
The first ones brought the subtitles. To what degree greenish?
Sintran, mass alternative, a potato, or alternative, a fusion. Yes, that is... look. Antagonists, the date of sclerotinia. It works slower, that is, you see, sclerotinia releases a substance so that it fits. The flu doesn't fit, it scleroses itself and protects. Here we have less, but the flu is attacking, as we see. The more antagonism captures, the better the flu works. That is, if it happens the other way around, and so, if for us, on the contrary, this flu does not suit us. In this case, it's like a simple picture. We look at the usual conditions. It's constantly a practice to choose the most common culture, and then the recipes.
We have to figure out ourselves. How do we reduce this? Titers, pathogens.
Immediately, this is not the goal. It's like a person taking precautions, so that later there might be an outbreak sometimes, and what you do, also hands up, raised with cotton. Everything here is not just like that. Just as a person drinks 3 biotics, probiotics, here we determine the same, where to carry it then. What should we do? Introduce them. So we introduce them. Checking such a quantity quickly is not feasible, so we have a special setup. It's like, a sewing machine. And here you take it by eye, soaking it to 1, you have 7 liters. You press 7 liters, which means immediately 10 cubes to 7 liters. Here we came with you to the group. Well, we finished this block literally, probably, a month ago. If our girls first germinate, the super elite, the elite, we check everything completely with ELISA. With higher productions and flagship PCR. So, that is, our girls here isolated the aliphate, applied the antigen antibody, washed everything, automatically washed the aliphate, everything mainly. We tried to do it automatically, recorded the result, received it. This is for us for June, May, November, December, January. So, during this period, we are checking all the family material that we receive from these larger products. As for the original seed carrier, that is what we are sanitizing. Here with the cuttings, we won't go there. We won't eat it. Well, we are not just engaged in storage, we are also involved. We have dog wheat, we have small grain, Yes, clover, small grain, all golden small seed culture. Here we definitely check all incoming material, germination, energy, even the last viability is checked. There is material that we will have in the fields, but fully so that we can analyze, see what is there, what preparations agronomists to select. We provide them with information and they already select based on what we have. Well, what is the main thing? Of course, the globe. All the apartments that we have go through the fields, and we have just half. The device literally came to a stop on its own, and after we checked all the batches, we still have selection in all the lines that the breeders have, which is the reason for reproduction. We have about 400 of them, even more, bringing warmth to us all, and we already let him know so that he knows that he is not only focused on the yield, but also on the most resistant, as well as the protein readings. And it wasn't enough. Only the social network, yes, that is, here we look at the fat content. Now they are just washed and cleaned because today they are working for the benefit. Mass fraction of fat, mass fraction of protein, and you are equipped.
And here, the flight location, it turns out, is a piece. 200, right? 60 tons. The selection is shown by a special commission that ensures the quality. We are currently engaged in washed carrots. Right? Approximately 6 meters.